Folks, if you're looking for anyone who can do FreeCAD commercially, I think I found your man. Here with me is Octavio, who's been freelancing with FreeCAD, and I wanted to open up a conversation with him to see how commercial use of FreeCAD has gone. Octavio, great to be with you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Joseph. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to share the space with your audience. So thank you so much for inviting me today.
Thanks. What kind of projects do you do? So I found you on a freelance website. How has it been with FreeCAD? Do you get a lot of people who have an interest in FreeCAD?
Yeah, recently I think there's a spike in interest in FreeCAD. Many people are moving from commercial to open source, and it's great. I think it helps the open source community. It helps FreeCAD to develop better, greater. So yes, you mentioned I do work with FreeCAD commercially, and so far in my scope or our scope, it's been great. It has worked great. Obviously, it has many things to improve, but at this point, I think it's perfectly used for commercial.
That's awesome. I understand you have a lot of experience in the automotive industry. Do you get a lot of automotive freelancing, or is it kind of all around?
Yeah, well, currently I'm working as like a distributor of um, uh, robots and servo press, like a industry machinery. So, but everything or most of it is geared towards the automotive industry. I have worked for car makers and tier ones, tier two. So I have experience in that. It's a huge field. So I'm mostly used to automotive.
I have a real soft spot for that because I went to school for automotives, and then I ended up in all different kinds of industries, pretty much everything except for where I went to school for. So I,
How so?
I hear about your background, and I think that's the background that I originally was going for. That's great. So
Yeah, but I mean, your videos are so helpful. I think teaching the way you do to really express, uh, transmit that knowledge of yours, I think it's very respectable. I do have some experience with teaching. I was a teacher for a high school for one semester. So I love that part of teaching. I think when you teach something, you really get to learn and to know it deeply. So I really appreciate your work.
no kidding, that is awesome. Going from high school to engineering has got to be a cool story in itself.
Yeah, it was crazy, but it was just a temporary license. I enjoyed it so much, and probably in the future I would like to go back to teaching.
That sounds like a lot of fun. My wife was a Montessori teacher, so I kind of get a little outside view as to what it's like to teach, apart from doing CAD online, I guess. But
Right.
in person, it's a different game. I know. Um,
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting on your profile that you can speak not only English and Spanish but Japanese. What caused you to learn languages? I should back up and say I've been trying to learn a new language for years. I don't think I have the gift, but I'm still trying. How was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, learning languages, especially when we're adults, it's difficult, more difficult. The brain gets used to your native language. Luckily for me, I had a good education since like elementary school in English, and later on, I always try to challenge and practice as much as possible. I did many like temporary works. I went to summer camp at some point when I was younger, still at university. So I always try to be in touch with English language. I think for um, when you are living in a Spanish-speaking country like Mexico, when you speak English, you have more opportunities for everything, for jobs, for traveling, meeting new people. So it was a big goal, and I also love the language, to be honest. So I met my wife. She was learning in Spanish, and I was trying to learn Japanese. And we just talked briefly for many years, probably more than 6 years, until one day we had the opportunity to meet up in Mexico, and then from then we decided to marry. And right now, my Japanese level is not really great, but I try every day. My work is very related to Japanese companies, so at least I have to have the business level. That's what I'm trying to reach soon in the future.
That's excellent. It reminds me of this professor that I had. He was an astronomy professor, and he met his wife, and he spoke English and Latin, and she was a linguist that spoke like six languages, but not English. So they communicated through Latin.
That's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes a dead language comes in handy, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy. We have three dogs, and they understand Spanish and English and some Japanese. So we at home we speak the three languages.
Yeah, I bet your dogs speak better Spanish than I do. So
Spanish is difficult. I realize when um, my wife asked me like why she should pronounce, why she should write like this. When I think about it, yeah, it's sometimes it doesn't follow any logic. It's a lot of exceptions. But I think any language is like that. And Japanese is very different from any other language. The structure, how you think about it, completely different. So it's taking longer than I expected, but I'm sure I will speak at some point.
that'll be great. It's a cool language. What got you
Yeah.
interested in FreeCAD?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. What got you interested in FreeCAD?
Oh well, I during my university I learned commercial software, the SolidWorks in this case, and then through my other jobs I had the opportunity to work with CATIA and other softwares. But at some point, I wanted to develop something for myself, some project, and something that didn't depend on a really expensive license that I could not afford. So that made me to look for the options available. At the time, I think it was like 3 years ago when I stumbled to FreeCAD, and at the time, I really think it had a potential. It didn't have all the features and great development as it has today. So, but even so, it was a good start. So I started playing with it, and I'm very pleased to see it's evolving and growing so much and so fast.
I am so impressed with FreeCAD. Like they come out with stuff that I'm just like, how did they figure that out?
Right.
I think it's at the point when it comes to making a part, there's not very much that I can do in SolidWorks that I can't also do in FreeCAD.
Exactly. Yeah. It has you have to follow the own FreeCAD logic sometimes, but I think some as you mentioned, some parts are easily done with FreeCAD rather with other programs. So it's crazy that the community is great. It's very supportive. The developers are really talented. I really admire them. It's really great to see there is like an actual alternative to commercial software.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really hoping to see it bloom in the commercial space. I think it deserves a place at the table, and that's kind of why I'm doing this too. I really want to encourage the idea that this really can be used commercially. I've used it. You've used it. I'm sure other people are doing as well.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed, I am a member of a Telegram channel. It's called FreeCAD in Spanish, FreeCAD en español. Um, Actually, many of the members share your videos. You're very popular and famous there, so I'm sure they will be pleased to see this video. And there are many professors that are teaching FreeCAD to their students at either high school or college level. And there are people from Spain, Argentina, Cuba, Colombia, everywhere, Mexico. So it's a huge community. It has more than 1,000, almost 1,000 members, and it's very supportive. So if you have a question, you got stuck somewhere, you can share your model, you can share your questions, and someone will be helpful and make it come true.
That sounds like a fantastic community. I'll have to put a link in the description if anyone's interested.
Sure, I would love to spread the word there. As I mentioned, you're very popular there, but other people that might be interested either with this video or they're looking for more resources in FreeCAD, you can go there, and it's a really great community.
That sounds great. And I'm so honored to be popular anywhere, let alone in that space. So, what was your learning process like? Was it something that after you used SolidWorks you picked up pretty quick, or did it take a little bit of time for you?
It took some time, and as you know, the development has been so fast and so great recently.
Yeah.
Many ways of doing things have changed, have evolved. Some are outdated now, like at the time when I learned it. So it's been a constant process. I cannot say I learned FreeCAD already, and every day I'm learning.
Yeah.
Every day, even apparently simple parts can be a challenge at some time. So every day you learn something new, and it's little by little. I think you can get used to it, and then once you pick up like the logic, how to all the workbenches and all the features work, then you can pick up a really faster.
Definitely. Yeah, that was how it was for me. I installed FreeCAD, and this was probably in 2013, 2014, and I opened it up. I had no idea what Workbench was what. And I
Right.
thought I thought initially you would just sketch by entering in coordinates. I had it all wrong. And I'm like, wow, these people must be amazing. And then later on I gave it
Right.
another try, and it all started to make sense, and then you pick it up really fast. But don't try it by
Right.
yourself was my moral of the story.
Right. And that's when your work comes, and it's very helpful because many questions, like most common question the beginner has as a user of FreeCAD, you already solved it, you already explained it. So for a beginner, it's easier to see what workbench they should use for each feature they want to to do. And I think in the latest versions, it's more like a graphical. Even the icons are like you can get an idea of what you can get, but still, there are so many workbenches that you can get confused at a time. So
There are. Would you have any like specific points of advice for a new user?
yeah, I would say that do not try to use it as SolidWorks or as a commercial software. Many beginners try to get frustrated because they are trying to follow maybe the steps. It works in other programs, but you have to learn how to do it in FreeCAD. It's not difficult. It's just different, and probably it's more efficient. These programs are created by really talented developers. They put a lot of logic behind it. So sometimes I've noticed that if you just like clear your mind, try to forget, unlearn everything, uh, you have to play with all the workbenches. You have to try to do it by yourself. Then, if you have a problem, then go to the community, search online, and you will find an answer how to do it. Probably you find out a better way to do it that someone is recommending you. So that would be my advice. Do not try to do the same as other programs. FreeCAD is really unique.
That's great advice. I used not Pro E but Creo pretty recently, just in the past few years, and on some of the forums I've seen people having the same complaints about Pro E as they do with FreeCAD when they move out of SolidWorks. I think it's a pretty common
Right.
thing that some people come into it having almost like an expectation that it's going to be exactly the same. I think that advice makes a lot of sense. And
Right.
then I think the other divide is non-parametric modeling, like Blender. I think when people learn on something like Blender and then they get into a parametric environment, it is I imagine fully defining a sketch would be really tedious for someone who's coming from Blender.
Right. Right. I've seen many people trying to do like a home project, and they have a lot of like organic shapes, a lot of curves, and they try to do it with the FreeCAD, and sometimes that it's just not the best idea.
Yeah.
At that case, I would recommend maybe going with Blender. Um, and the other way around, they try to do something with Blender that could be easily done with FreeCAD. So I would say just try to get the best of each world, and do not try to overcomplicate yourself.
Absolutely. I watched a video on making a hand grip in SolidWorks, and all the comments were, "This is so much easier in a direct modeler." So,
Right.
yeah, I use the
Right.
right tool for the job. But I'm such a parametric guy. I don't know if I'll ever be 100% on on direct modeling.
Right. I think as an engineer, we are always taught to be always define your sketches, like everything, because when you're working in the industry, if there is a change, yeah, you have to go back to modify a dimension or something. It doesn't have to affect the whole model. So I think that's the main reason. But um, there are also some advantages not going parametric. I think the real what you should consider is what you want to achieve at the end. So it's not itself bad, non-parametric. It's just what is your application, what is your end goal. So
I like that. Absolutely. So you've used CATIA, SolidWorks, FreeCAD. Is there anything else in there?
I also use Creo.
Yeah.
I had a chance to use it a little bit. They have an interesting like topology optimization, and now with this new trend of uh, generative design, it's also very interesting. Um, and I hope at one point FreeCAD can also develop something like this.
Yeah. When I picked up Creo, that was kind of a learning curve for me. And
Yeah,
then after a while you're like, "Oh, I kind of get it. Soft and hard dimensions and it like fully defines the sketch for you." It
right.
it was
That is
interesting.
correct. Yeah, and in my previous work, I did pictures or brackets, and one of those brackets were for a horn, an audible device. So when you're doing a bracket for a horn, it's important the shape, the geometry, the length, the thickness, everything is very important, and you have to do a lot of simulation. So that's how I got to see the process of analyzing the optimization of all the shapes, because the vibration it really affects the final sound. So it seems really easy when from the outside, but it has a lot of science behind.
Yeah. Do you use the simulation in FreeCAD as well?
I would like to implement that. That would be really interesting. And every time you try to do something in FreeCAD, you will learn uh, different ways to do it. So
Yeah.
I would love to challenge that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to just have such a package in FreeCAD. I remember working for a very small business, about 9 employees, and at one point, and we were talking about getting SolidWorks simulation, and the price was so expensive. And this was before I could do FreeCAD real well. And if I just knew FreeCAD back then, it would have saved us so much money. And it really is such a great asset to a small business, especially if you have limited resources. So um, I really think these open source developers are just the heroes of the digital age, to be able to allow anyone of almost any means to learn engineering and other things.
Right. Yeah, it's really a passion and a talent they have. This developer, Real Thunder. He has forked like a branch of a FreeCAD, but at some point, I think in the next version, the 20.020,
Hmm.
there's gonna be a lot of merges and important changes, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Um, just as him, there are other developers that are working on different workbenches.
Hmm.
And I think when you put everything together and you compare really like 90% of the applications that companies use for in their commercial software, FreeCAD is very capable of doing many of them, if not
Yeah.
most of them. So it's really amazing that this tool is free for everyone. You can create your own macros, or you can contribute to the code if you know how to program. So it's great. It's I think it's a tool that students, professionals, enthusiasts, everyone should pick up if they're interested in design.
Absolutely. When you use FreeCAD, is there any practice that you try to avoid?
Yeah, I would like to. The first when I use FreeCAD, I try to, as I said, like clear my mind. Do not try to get like a bad practices from other software.
Yeah.
So I save my work a lot. Sometimes there are bugs, so maybe your model gets frozen or suddenly closes down. So those things, of course, have to improve. But I think just keeping your model healthy, you have to do some checks, keep it your work constantly updated,
Hmm.
and if you feel at some point you're not getting any result, I think you should stop, take a break, and then go back because design, no matter what software, sometimes can be a little bit tricky. So in FreeCAD could be a little bit more.
Absolutely. I feel like my biggest learning experiences have been like getting so angry I'm clenching the vowels off my keyboard. And, and then,
Many
yeah,
hours, then you didn't save and it's suddenly gone, right? So
yeah, exactly. And
at the end, it's a learning experience, but yeah, at the time you get very frustrated. So that
yeah,
should be like really important. Save your work, work when you are like calm, and you will get it.
yeah. And like what you said, sometimes when you sleep on it, I've had so many times where an idea comes to me when I'm doing something else, and I'm like, I could do this in a completely different way, and I bet it would work. And
Right,
it feels really exciting. So,
right. And I think at those times, I think you should reach out to the communities online. And what I like about this free software, open source, is that there are many people willing to support, really to provide their knowledge, their help, really wholeheartedly. So it's amazing that maybe you stuck for a few days with something and you cannot get past that point, but someone will have an idea, at least a hint that you can follow. Then you can complete your work. So when you are working in commercial software, probably it's about you're working at a company, and it's not that easy to be asking for advice. So there are other platforms and communities where you can also ask questions, but I think these open source communities are really helpful.
that's true. I've had general experiences on like the Ubuntu forum and other places, but what really strikes me is the FreeCAD forum largely is a very nice, very respectful place, and they're really good about answering questions. And that's another thing that really pulled me into loving the community is there's such great people on there.
It's true, and many backgrounds too. I've seen architects, engineers, uh, biologists, every kind of field. Some point, if they need to use design, they uh, provide their knowledge. They help out, so it's great. The community.
That is pretty great. And What kind of projects have you been working on? And you know, when we freelance, we all sign NDAs, so I bet you probably can't share the vast majority. But do you have anything interesting that you could even just describe?
Sure, sure. I'm working. The last work I was doing was like a gripper for like a robotic arm.
Hmm.
So that one was really nice. Most of my designs, I after I finish, I go to the workshop and then I try to machine them. Uh, but there are many projects that I would like to do with 3D printing, probably. Uh, Nowadays, it's easier. It's more like it's more could be cheaper as well, like fast prototyping. So I would like to continue on that path, and it's mostly fixtures, brackets, jigs, and because of my work, it's many things related to robots, industrial robots, or presses. So there have been times where the customer needs to press like 2 or 3 points at the same time in a part, maybe a circuit board or something like that. And there are no such existing jig, right? So we have to use some springs, we have to do some analysis, how the work is going to distribute along all the area of the jig. So it's a lot of the whole process is very detailed, and but the end result at the end is it's doable, it's working, and the satisfaction to the client, that's the main part. So so far I'm really pleased working with FreeCAD. It's really great, and I can imagine in the future when it implement more features, and it's gonna be even more amazing.
Yeah, it is a phenomenal platform. I'm like, what are they going to come up with next? uh,
Right.
I know they're going to be merging the Real Thunder fork, and you know, if they, I believe Real Thunder solved a lot of the topology naming issues, and I think we're going to have a really like slick FreeCAD moving forward.
Yeah,
Um,
I am really excited to see that coming.
yeah, and when you use FreeCAD commercially, how does it compare to your experience with using SolidWorks commercially? Is your workflow about the same time to do some like a large assembly, or you know, are there any pain points with FreeCAD that you'd hope to see resolved in the future?
Sure. As I said, some workbenches are still need a lot of development. Uh, some people only need the CAD, the model itself, but some other people need the drawing as well. So making a complex design and then trying to create the drawing could be sometimes like a problematic. The tech draw workbench is still in development, and sometimes that is frustrating. Um, Sometimes there are some known bugs that you have to work around. But the more you use FreeCAD, you naturally you learn how to avoid them or just how to figure it out, and it doesn't make it like it doesn't stop your workflow. You just do other steps, do the workarounds, and you can get almost the same result at the same time. So but it's through a lot of practice, a lot of experience, a lot of frustration as well. So um, I think at this point, it can be in terms of the time, it can be comparable with the commercial software. Um, when you find something that like a bug or something that you've never seen before, of course, it will take more time to solve it. But there's always a way to come around those problems.
Absolutely. Um, that's the same way for me. You know, my progression with FreeCAD has been, oh, this is kind of fun to do, but I'll have my SolidWorks, thank you. And then I get a little bit better at it, and I'm like, I had no idea FreeCAD was this good, and then I'm like, wow, I can do FreeCAD like I can do SolidWorks, and now I'm almost at the point I'm like, why would I use other platforms?
Right.
Um,
Right. One thing I really like is, you know, a big part of a portion of FreeCAD is written in Python. So there are many people who has a background in Python. I've seen many like could be macros or yeah, many automatic scripts that create really amazing results. So you can have a really complex part easily done in just a few clicks. So I know that commercial software like SolidWorks or CATIA is also expandable through scripts, but the fact that you can do this as well in FreeCAD through Python is also very interesting. You can get a lot of results just by writing some code, some script.
if I can get into programming, I would definitely do Python first.
Right, it's a bit easier, more readable than other like a C or C++, which
Yeah,
is
and
more complex.
it is. And my sister-in-law is going to start a programming degree pretty soon, and I know Visual Basic pretty well. So I'm trying to teach her as much Visual Basic as I can so that when she learns Python, she can teach me.
Right. That sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. Um, and is there anything in FreeCAD that you hope to see like develop further, or any changes that you'd want to see in the next versions?
Yeah, I think the animation part and the assembly part, um, I think that's something confusing for some users. Uh, some of them are using the older versions, which I think it was assembly 2 or something like that. And then Real Thunder is working in assembly 3, and there's an assembly 4. So it's just different ways to implement the same thing. You have to understand how it works. Then it could be, or one way could be more useful than other. But I think at some point, if they can unify, like a solution would be much easier. Um, because I also know that at some point, if you create, if you follow this version or the other version, at some point could be compatible at the end if you try to share. So I would like to see the like merging all the development in only one version,
Yeah.
and I hope that that time it will still be like open, uh, free for every user, and I think it will continue to grow. It's really amazing that this tool is free and what you can achieve with the free tech.
Definitely. Yeah. And like, do you have a preference of which assembly workbench that you have as your favorite?
Well, I tried to work recently in Assembly 4. Um, there we have to position all the axes, and it could be take some time. Could take some time, but um, I think I try to test every workbench a little bit, at least to know to grasp the potential it has. So I think if they can come up with a solution, a unifying solution, that would be great. But if not, I think we should learn one or other, depending on your approach or what your needs.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. A2 Plus for me has been the most natural learning process. It felt just like most other CAD platforms, but A3 and A4, despite being more complicated, they do such a great job at making sure that stuff will update and not break.
Right.
For me, I'd like to see stronger fillets. And this is full time. I do some injection mold design, and you
Mhm.
have to have smooth surfaces. And so, I'm always hoping that it'll fill it when it's done.
Right.
um,
Right. Recently, in the one of the latest versions, they added the helix for those threaded. So that was a great feature. You don't have to go back to parts and create the helix, so you can just go directly in part design. created. So I like that feature, and I would like to see many like those in the future.
Yeah, yeah, and you can almost think about it like the Real Thunder and main FreeCAD version branching, and almost in the same way, if you could merge like the part and part design workbenches, I think there would be a lot of cool stuff that would come out of that too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the commercial software, uh, they're using a lot of the equivalent to the parts workbench, those Boolean operation, subtraction. It's really useful, but in some softwares, it doesn't feel like you are changing workbenches. It's just one more feature, and you do it, and that's it. But here, I've seen that some people have a preference for only part design or some part, and there's some like a discussion which is better. I think you should use the best for your needs at the
Mhm.
end. But if they can unify, as you mentioned, uh, and bring all those great solutions in one just package, that would be great.
Definitely. And I'd love to see geometric dimensioning and tolerancing on the TechDraw workbench. And I
Um,
don't know if that's a big thing yet or not, but I'm really hoping for that.
yeah, that would be a great feature coming up. Could really help for more like professional work. As I mentioned, TechDraw is still in development and has a lot of things that should be implemented to make it more like useful for commercial environment.
Definitely. So overall, what do you think the general future of FreeCAD is going to be?
I think it's very bright. It's great. One thing I would like to see is that many versions forking at some point,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them being deprecated, or maybe the developer abandoned the project. So these people has some of them have other jobs, and they are really, it's like a hobby what they do, or in their spare time. So it's basically really like their dedication and effort whenever they can code and they can expand the program. So I would like or hope that they could continue this great work, that the FreeCAD community and Real Thunder and other developers can bring just one, or at least as much as possible, just one version, and continue the improvement. I think in a few years, some companies, corporation will start to look at FreeCAD as a serious solution.
Absolutely. That's yeah. I'm seeing FreeCAD. Hopefully, I could have implemented it with some of our work in the small company I worked at, but hopefully, I think a lot more people are going to be picking it up, and I think with the future of FreeCAD releases, with like what we talked about, topological naming and bringing the forks together, I think we're going to have just a real killer platform to work with. Is it,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The company I work for at this point is very small. It's recently starting in Mexico, and those things like budget for a 3D program sometimes is not considered by management, or so when I came and I proposed to use FreeCAD, and they are seeing the results that they can bring, uh, I think many like a medium or smaller companies will start using it more, and it will definitely help to keep FreeCAD alive and growing.
that's pretty incredible. That yeah, if you have companies that are just seeing the results that FreeCAD is bringing already, I'm really excited to see where this is going to be in 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I'm sure in 10 years, maybe the graphical interface or the features will be amazing. Today's version would look so outdated, but in the meantime, let's keep learning and practicing and working on FreeCAD. Your videos are great. they're very helpful to myself, to the community, to professionals. So at some point, I would like to also to create some tutorials to solve some questions. Recently, I've been very busy. I do a lot of traveling, but because of my work. But I would love to do that as well. And it's pretty amazing what you do, honestly.
Yeah. Well, when you get down to it, I'd love to help you any way I can. So we'll look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that I forgot, or have we covered everything?
I think we covered most of it, or if not everything. But I don't have anything right now. So if you want to ask about anything, I'm really open to any question.
You got it. How about some fun questions? What's your favorite operating system?
Favorite? Well, because of the work, I use Windows, and it's Windows 10 is really bad, really buggy. And so in my personal computer, oh sorry, I think it's my cat here. Hey, say hi. In my personal computer, I have Linux, and the latest version I was using was Debian, I think, Debian 9, probably. But I pretty used like most of the most like mainstream, like Ubuntu or Mint. There are so many at this point I cannot even remember, but Linux. That's how I found out FreeCAD, because I was trying to do everything I had in the commercial environment in my other computer. So that's how I found out FreeCAD. I was looking for a solution for a 3D software. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
what is your favorite operating system?
Well, I've been a long time Ubuntu user. I've used Mint a little bit, but now I'm just installing CAE Linux, Computer Aided Engineering Linux. I don't know if you've had any experience with that.
No, not yet.
So it's built on Xubuntu, like the XUBUNTU,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes pre-installed with FreeCAD, with Mecha, with a bunch of analysis software. So I'm just moving into that, and I think I'm going to be making that into some future videos as well. So that's a fun one
Well,
if you're ever looking for another flavor of Linux.
definitely, I will try it. That version I installed recently, it was just like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's almost I didn't install anything yet, so probably I can switch to that flavor and try it out.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Um, Thank you so much for coming on and for your time. I really hope that people see this and start using FreeCAD commercially as much as they can.
That's my desire, my wish as well. I think they won't regret once you pass the point that the frustration and you get desperate at points when you cannot accomplish something. But once you get that point, you see how amazing FreeCAD is, how capable it is. So I'm sure more people and more companies will start using it for commercial use.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, and I think we'll wrap this one up.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, Joseph. I really appreciate your time, and it's been a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, Octavio, and be sure to check the link in the description. You can hire Octavio yourself for any projects you have.
Thank you so much.